All right, peace, peace. All right, I'm here. I'm opening up some materials. All right. See how we are doing. Today, I want to talk about how we are planning and how we are building. I actually was so into my own plan of what I intend to do, all the things that I have listed for myself to accomplish, and just really run out the gate. That's really how I like to start the year. I like to start out by running out the gate. You know what I mean? Put that ugly face on and get as many things done as possible. You know, but wow, it's you, Amir Asiatic, Jarrell Boylan. All right, peace. I want to apologize because I was so intense about getting out the gate that I didn't write a Peace Course column. You know, and I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice that I had not written one until it was Monday that followed this Monday, and I think it was because I know was because the like I was saying in the last class, the year rarely ends so nicely where you get a weekend like that. So I just was setting off everything. You know what I mean? All the things I intend to do, the books I'm going to read, the books I'm going to write, works that I'm not even telling anybody that I'm working on. Just a lot of projects. You know what I mean? And if these projects pan out and they do great, then that's great. The truth is that they'll still get done though, and there'll be accomplishments that I can probably notch on the belt. And I say that because I think that's the mentality to have. You know what I mean? I definitely think that's the mentality to have when you're doing what you're doing. Though you don't always know if it'll do good, if it'll reveal your talents, let alone if it'll be well received and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I'm excited to do them. So it was a lot of stuff, and the good thing about it was that I've been writing this column regularly, and I haven't written a regular column like this Peace Course column. Pretty much wrote it all last year. I haven't written a regular column like that old school feel where you have a column and you've got to write it, and I do very little editing, so I might do a quick edit if I messed up once I throw it up there. But a lot of times I deliberately don't really fix it because I like that feel, that exercise of posting something or sharing something, publishing something, and you don't get to change it. That's the old school. You don't get to say Peace 793. You don't get to change it though. Like imagine how strong and how precise your understanding had to be, and it has to be, how well written it has to be to basically get it past and through an editor's editing and then onto a published arena. And I'm saying this because I'm offering a lot, anyone here, some type of publishing. You know what I mean? I'm offering you, this class now comes with new forums this year. You know what I mean? So if you want to write something that's about this knowledge, you want to build, I am your editor to get you and to edit you and post you into the 5% media page. If what you're writing, if you want to write things that, even if you're the god of the earth or just someone that's just interested in stuff or anything related to what I'm doing, and you just want to write something for the people in general, not really about dissecting the knowledge or anything like that, but you want to write something that could be about that or anything, but it's for the people, it's not really for the nation. I got that too. You know what I mean? I have that forum laid up because I'll have this year I'm putting it out a small newspaper, but it's going to be a regular thing. So whether for the 85 or for the 5%, I have the forums for you. You know what I mean? As an editor, I'm definitely reaching out to you and to develop you, to show you how it's done. 793, you said that no rough draft, straight shot. A lot of the stuff that I would say that the majority of what you have read on the Peace Course columns, they have been quick edited, and a lot of them have not even been read again. I wrote it and I didn't even read it again. You know what I mean? I just practicing shooting from the hip. You know what I mean? And I am writing a book. On the Peace Course. And that's not going to be some 10% shit where, you're not going to be able to learn if you don't get that book. Required literature in the classroom. Nah, they got to be like that. You know what I mean? It's for people that just want to get more insights about, and it's really for the people. It's not really for the student, even though it will be useful to the student. The book that I'm writing will be most useful to the student that feels that they are ready to go teach as well. So they can see how I formulated the class, a lot, how I put my understanding out there, in all types of formats. And then once those, formats are out there, how I put them out there, the experiences. I still have yet to write down like my straight experiences, because this is still a book that goes out to the masses and stuff. So, but how it feels, how it is to teach at Harlem. You know what I'm saying? My experience teaching at Harlem, teaching this knowledge itself in a structured classroom for over 20 years. And I am very close to getting back to a law school in Mecca. So the path is becoming more visible. So that's a good thing. So I'll soon enough be back there, so if anybody is interested with meeting up personally and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And again, I'm still going to be doing this online and stuff. This is the trend, this is the thing. And I love it though. I love what Dark Kim is doing. He's made all of these things. I haven't even gotten close to doing all that. All of these different networks that he's made available. I keep it real with you. I keep it in the lecture format because I still am deliberately keeping it where I don't want to lose sight of the classroom, the physical classroom. So I can't do so much that I lose sight in the classroom. I still want it where the Peace Course to you is still going to be something where you all out there that are watching it on the stream or, afterward are watching something that happened at a law school in Mecca. So there are certain things that I will and will not do. And also, honestly, I keep it real. I don't have the time. You know what I mean? And to spread it out more though, and to give a deeper curriculum of time, to add time to the curriculum, which often would happen if I included more spaces and form within this particular classroom setting. It would take too much of my time, and not be as useful. You know what I mean? Peace magnetic. Have Harris. Right? Yeah, let it go for how you felt. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? And and by the way, you know, like when you're planning, if you have children, you know, technically I'm one of those non-custodial parents, right? So both my children, I don't live with them regularly. So the time that I have with them, I plan accordingly so that way all of the work that I need to get done during the week is always done before I would see them. You know what I mean? And so the weekends that I wouldn't have them or I end up not having them, those are always planned to be, those are always planned extra. That's where extra work could be done. You know what I mean? So if I get surprised by them, it wouldn't hurt anything. If I don't, you know what, it keeps me focused. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just lounging around and wishing to and missing them. You know, and that's an important thing if you have children and stuff. Adam Allah, peace, knowledge Allah. All right, Cream City. All right. But all these books are getting written at the same time. You know what I mean? So the thing is, the immediate books that I want to publish, though, have to be written first. Whereas the books that I want to publish later are already written. So I have the order out of whack. You know what I mean? So I'm hustling with with writing it down. And well, one book is in like a. Actually, let's see how long it is. It's pretty big, and I'm giving you these details so you get some insight of how this works. How, you know, something could be really written, and it really doesn't. You don't have to lose your whole life trying to write something. Okay, so it's pretty big what I have here. Right now, let's see. Thing doesn't even want to scroll though. It's so long already. Yeah, it's over 20 chapters or segments or what have you. You know what I mean? So all of it could be used, all of it not. Now I'm talking about books that I'm working on, projects I'm working on, giving some insights of how to get this done. You know what I mean? The forums that I have available to you all. Because it's time to get more writers. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, you know, this generation of gods and earths, the generation now that's getting the knowledge. I'm not talking about age, whether you're a little bit older or you're very young getting the knowledge. This generation right now that goes in from the let's say, I'm gonna keep it real and say the 2010s into this decade. That's how long I think. We don't have good representation of that. You know what I mean? And we don't have representation within the nation as far as written stuff. And I don't think, and we definitely have less representation of gods and earths that have gotten the knowledge from the 2010s on out there in the mainstream. There's only a few notable people, you know, and it's not enough. You know what I mean? It's not enough. You know what I mean? But what I'm telling you is that, you know, you just write your ass off. You know what I mean? You write everything. You know what I mean? And you divide all the work you have to do from the things that must be done to get these projects out to also the practice of the projects. And if it's down to writing, you cannot quit doing the writing and the reading that no one else will see. So the journal writing, all those things, you know. So these two books I'm writing will definitely be written like in the next month or two. And yet in the next month, you know, or three, really, January, March, definitely. And yet it doesn't take away from the journal writing that no one else can see. It doesn't take away from the column writing. It's all going to get written because I cut the time. You cut the time of thinking about this kind of stuff, of thinking, what do I say? What do I write? How do you cut that time? It's the practice hours. You know what I mean? The practice that you spend writing in your journal, the practice, whatever craft it is, there has to be massive practice. So that way it's on cue whenever you need it. Peace, divine truth, alone. Quatis, peace. Definitely got a lot of stuff. And okay, let's see. I'm working on a manuscript right now that I have, and it has 113,000 words. Just to put that in perspective, the book I released, The Filtered Reel, is about 270 pages, and that's about 70,000. So I'm way over here. As far as like, do I have an amount that makes a book size? You know, like those worries, right? But now I have lots of stuff, and I appreciate that knowledge a lot. You know, last year you didn't really see any of my works get released as far as books and stuff because I planned. Well, there's two reasons. I had personal things, getting my be honest with you, this new single life together, but also actually developing a new training program that is more intense than I've ever had in my whole life. But as far as writing and stuff, I spent a lot of time on Star Mel's latest book, The Righteous Way, the Infinity Edition. I edited all of his books, but once he said we're gonna do the last trilogy, and it's gonna be a trilogy, I didn't want that. That's the last one. And I was thinking, all I could think about was like, he's coming to me at the same time I'm all up in the Last Dance documentary, Jordan, and I'm like, yo, that me and Starmel, that Righteous Way Infinity Edition, that was the last dance. You know what I mean? That's like our last dance. You know what I mean? As far as doing that work and stuff like that, we'll be on other teams though. Me and Starmel, we're on other teams. You know what I mean? Doing different things. But as far as that Righteous Way Championship book belt, oh man, I was like, I gotta work hard on this one, man, because Starmel's a perfectionist. You know what I mean? So I fine tooth combed that manuscript as best as I could. You know what I mean? And a lot of editors just worry about errors. I worry about that a lot. Grammatical errors and all that. What I really worry about, and this is even easier with Starmel because he doesn't really make many grammatical errors. Like he's a spell checker. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't just give you that raw, but making sure that his voice was complete. You know what I mean? And man, I think we achieved that. I think the Infinity Edition is the best book, and it's not a book. For those that like, it's 10% shit. The knowledge got to be free. This is understanding, man. This is stuff that only Starmel has an understanding of. So this isn't stuff where he's doing you a favor, because the only way you would get that is if you met Starmel and spent some years, months, and days with him. So this isn't stuff like, yeah, that was the nation and that was the nation stuff and everything. Nah, this is his understanding of years, months, and days. Like, you're not going to open a chapter and say, hey, such and such, he said this already. Like, this is in the vein. It's, it's augmented understanding of this knowledge itself, right? Which is how all of us are building. But man, that's all him. You know what I mean? It's all him. So it's packed, you know what I mean? And it's concentrated. You know what I'm saying? But I spent much of the last year doing that and working on other projects, another special project I can't even mention, but it's getting done. You know what I mean? Something I never did before. But I spent a lot of 2020 actually recording songs. There are a lot of songs for other artists that I'm going to be on. Real good ones too, man. So I don't even know when these things are, when to 2021 they're gonna come out, but they'll come out. You know what I mean? So now all the backed up stuff. What I'm saying is, like, this particular book I'm looking at that has a ridiculous amount of words. Even single space, it's 175 words, which no book is single space. You know what I mean? So it's double that. So it's over 300, about 350. It's essays that I've written, and I've saved. Just had nowhere to put them and no immediate context to throw them. And they're about, the last, was it 20 years? 2021, last 20 years, and the book is, it's a music book. It's by hip hop, but it's very semi-autobiographical because I'm in the story that I talk about. You know what I mean? I'm in the history that I'm talking about. And throughout the years writing, what I'm saying is, for what you do, the things that you do, I have a lot of rejection letters. You know what I'm saying? I have countless rejection letters from publications and stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm not just about fallouts with magazines and things like that, but it's a long road. You know what I mean? So what keeps you to do something? And that's why the measure of success has to be a little bit different, because the measure of monetary success in a field is what keeps people doing something for two reasons. It justifies that they ought to be doing it. It shows that they're good enough, but at the same time, though, it gives them the out. And then that's the negative. But on the positive, if you only think that way, it's a positive if you come to realize that if people really are purchasing your work, it does give you the opportunity to make more. There's no way around that. If people buy your work, it's sustaining your life. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And I can say that firsthand, though. You know what I mean? A lot of people bought my first book, though, and I can't say that it was sustaining me as far, like, quit any kind of day job, but it was adding on a lot of bills. You know what I mean? Like, it was adding on a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? That I needed. You know what I mean? Things that I needed. Access to things. You know what I'm saying? Little. And allowed me to further things. You know what I'm saying? Also gives you, takes away the difficulty of thinking about being able to do something. So the thing is, though, is that this year I have these forums. I don't need a forum to write articles, but I'm doing that. You know what I'm saying? So if it's for the nation, I have I have the 5% media site. If it's for the outside world, though, we have basically the new publication coming out through S Street Media. They'll be publishing it, and I'll be editor-in-chief. It's basically an extension of all the concept of all of the thoughts that all of the people have, that could be on a podcast and that we cover. And because S Street Media, there's so many different shows of all kinds of topics, it lends any writer to write in a publication to say anything. So I'm calling it the Cast Faction. I haven't really revealed this anywhere, but I'm revealing it now. Cast Faction, like podcast faction. So anyone who writes for it is in this faction. You know what I mean? So it really should be written this way. S Street Media presents Cast right? And you know what I mean? So if you want to write pieces for the 85, where you have topics that, are not just the knowledge of whatever you want to do, whatever you want to develop. If you want to develop where you have the ability to write for publications and things and what's that's like, and that's what I'm here for. This is what I intended to do for Mecca Mission. But it didn't work out that way, honestly, because I didn't get the support, you know what I mean, within the nation. And not really young gods and earths, newborns, students as yourself. But no, my peers, they wasn't with it. They was hating. They was not really understanding the vision, and they were incorrectly and deliberately labeling it as cannibalism. So whatever, it doesn't matter because now we have 5% media. So wherever you want to write, whatever you want to try, I already got a couple of gods. I want to write in the 5% media. I'm collecting people that want to write for the world, like just wherever you at. You know what I mean? Because the cast facts is going to be printed up physically. So it'll be in the New York area, but it's also going to be online as a PDF to buy. So people will be able to get it, and they're small editions. So they'll be affordable. People will get to see it, you know what I'm saying? And there'll be bonuses for those that buy the physicals, you know what I mean? There'll be little bonuses in there, But a lot of work, you know what I mean? A lot of work, you know what I mean? So in recharging and replanning, even the column that I'm writing, I totally forgot this week. And what I did was now I put it on my calendar, because what I do on my calendar is I write events. So these events of work are happening every week, you know what I mean? So I check them off. I throw a check on them after they're done. And then they're going to repeat every week, you know what I mean? Even things that I know I wouldn't miss, like I wouldn't miss a class, you know what I mean? But that's always been written down on my calendar, so that way you could look at the day and see what you've done, you know what I'm saying? Right, so I want you all comfortable with expressing yourself, you know what I mean? However you want, whether it's arts or whatever like that, whatever arts you have, you know what I mean? Because obviously a publication isn't just for the written word, though. It's for the arts as well. Photography, you know what I mean? Off the head, definitely those three things easily can are the forum for it, Right? So definitely do that, But today, as we start off, that's definitely a theme that I wanted to, have in mind, Give me a minute. Hey, go upstairs now. Go upstairs now. You're interrupting my class. Okay? To do something you're supposed to do. All right. All right, so let me know, because one thing I wanted to go over, not just the projects that I have and stuff like that, but I'm deliberately going through the things I'm doing because I don't want you to be scared of overloading your life with a whole bunch of good things that you're trying to do. You know what I mean? Because we're so worried at the end of the year, like what we just finished. And now I'm not talking about 2020. What we just finished, December, is always the time where people are like, yo, all this year I didn't do shit. Or you never really planned for anything. So now you could say, well, I didn't really do much, but I'm going to strike hard in 2021 or next year. But you end up having a end of year that has nothing. It has no remorse because it's like, well, I didn't really, but I'll get it in. or no real success. Like I did all these things and I'm proud of myself, and I can go into the next year and do even more. Or we're gonna even overload even more, see what we could do. You need to have, and this is you rhetorically, no one individual that I'm seeing here, but I have always felt that you have to overload the work that you're going to do, so that way you can learn to do it well. As in the field that I've always been in, it's always been about deadlines and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's why, like, when we talk about basketball and stuff like that, I'm always real anti LeBron and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because um, I'm not with all that, a good play and all that, the right play or any of that kind of shit. You got to be the one to take the shot. You know what I mean? They got you there to take the shot yourself, and if you're too scared to take the shot, then you know what I mean. You not to be. Don't be the one in the cipher that is just quiet, waiting for everybody else to build. You're too scared to throw out and understand that might be useful. You know what I mean? That could be useful. You shoot your shot. You got to learn how to shoot your shot. You know what I mean? So that way, when you don't shoot your shot, you know exactly why you didn't, and you could be honest with yourself, and you could go home and say what worked, instead of just rubbing it off and saying like, it's the best play because that man had a good understanding, or he did the best work, or whatever like that. Anyway, he was the best one anyway. No. You got to get the practice though of missing some. You got to get the practice of throwing things out there. There's a fearlessness that you have to develop, and that's something that it is very difficult to mold deliberately, even if you're inside of the physical classroom. It is very difficult to mold that willingness to take a shot. Now, I'm telling you this because when I got knowledge of self, my enlightened knowledge me not only used to ask the students about what they know, what degrees they're on and stuff, but when they knowledge 120, they were supposed to find out what they could do for the nation. And he would ask you, what do you do? And if you do this, then you have to go do this. He was assigning people. I don't do that. I don't do that. You know what I mean? But because I don't want you to be a forced citizen of the nation in any kind of way. I want you to choose all the way. But I'll tell you this though, I learned with him, and whatever he said was going to be my assignment. You know what I mean? And he said, Sunez, you're a writer. You make, but like you're a writer. I said, yeah, I'm a writer, but I'm also an editor. See, I just had to be honest though. God damn. Literally, God damned. You know what I mean? And what happened was he said, you're a writer and you're editor, so and this is 1999. So you got to make a magazine. This is 1999. You can't just go make no magazine. You can't just like, what I'm saying? Like go get, www. Jimmy Do .blogspot and just do it. You know what I mean? So the thing is, I had to go out there. By this time, I'd already knowledge 120, so there's no way I could say no because I have to show and prove, right? I just spent an entire curriculum learning how I'm the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe. Being often the only so-called Puerto Rican, right? The only Boricua that had this knowledge was around of that age group, right? In that cipher, right? Having a challenge, having to show and prove that I was an original black man to all these people. All of these things that we was learning. Starting to learn martial arts with my brothers because they was doing it though. Taking all these forays into things that were fearful, right? There's no way I could say no. You know what I'm saying? I looked at my assets, the things that I have. I am not great at business. Everybody knows to tell you that, though. It's one of those things where I've learned so much about it that it's more of a it has become more of a detriment to me. So so I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. So what I do is I surround myself. Who is surrounding me? Who am I with that can build? I was brought to the knowledge of self. You know what I mean? God Day Son brought me, and he brought me to the school. You know what I mean? And we was, that's the day one with the knowledge. And he was still, he was still working where we met. The CUNY Baruch College newspaper, the ticker. Right? The ticker. And by the way, it's an unofficial record, but in Baruch College's CUNY newspaper, the ticker, I pretty much have the record of articles written now. So it goes in. I don't think anybody has more than 200 articles written. You're only allowed to be there for like 2 years. So as an editor and as a writer, you could be there your whole 4 years, but no one's written that many. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about like little, like where they're like 10-word articles and stuff. You know what I mean? Talk about, majority of those, like 90% of those big joints, but he was still there and reached a higher level where he had, access to, money, and he was great with that. And we made a magazine, and I called it Our Swords, Our Sacred Words, right? Swords, right? So swords. I was flipping the swords, right? We sold that. I got interviews that I had with artists, like had a big interview that was 99. Pun was already too obese to do interviews, so I interviewed Terror Squad, all of them except Pun. I didn't know why he didn't make it, but that was the reason. And what I would do with interviews was that I'd have like 3 hours worth of material, right? I have 3 hours worth of material of recording the interview. And the publication that sent me out there, Double XL, right? When they sent me to J Live, when they first met the God, J Live was through Double XL doing an interview for them. I build with the God, build with the God for a mad long time. Get at least 2-3 hours. But that piece is only 150 words. You know what I mean? So you toss the publication a little something to get that piece out there. They're not gonna. By then, I already know they're not gonna take the real ill stuff. And then now my publication also has an exclusive. But you know what? It's better. It's bigger. It's broader. So that's how he's doing it. You know what I mean? Because we had to get access to people. It's not like now where you could direct artists. You could build up your black book by what you do, your own deeds, which is great. Magazines talk like bloggers and everything, but these people go out there and develop their black book. So a lot of them, you got to respect it. You know what I mean? You go out there and to ask people themselves. You know what I'm saying? But and that was a final project for now it's me. I already had 120. I was like, no, I'm out. Nah, you gotta do something. And I made that publication. You know what I'm saying? Sold it at the nation. You know what I mean? To parliaments. If you was there, you know. I might dig up so you can show you a copy. You know what I mean? But the thing was that we was willing to put it out there. Like we got to be fearless with something. We could have failed. We could have not gotten enough money or shit like that. You know what I mean? I've been part of a lot of endeavors that failed. You know what I'm saying? A lot of business moves that people were shady, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like I really know if it's industry rule number 4080. Trust me, I'm pretty much know about the 4,000 other ones before. You know what I mean? Seen it firsthand. Been victim of it firsthand. You know what I'm saying? but you have to engage in some type of activities that push you to a fearlessness. Like, in other words, shit that like you're like, damn, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. You know what I mean? And the only judgment is not whether you can do it; it's whether, like, if I don't do it, or if I don't do it, if I literally can't achieve it, or if I do achieve it, is the actual endeavor going to be educational? And a lot of times when the older gods give you an assignment, I guess now I'm that older god giving you an assignment. It's gonna be that way. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna develop that, even if you fail. 7930 said terrific insight of sorts and the thinking and work put in by some of the greatest living penners within this nation. Appreciate the mini workshop. I thought that's peace. Mentality of how to do stuff is very important. You know what I mean? Because today's the God day. So I'm letting you know what the God was thinking. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Halftime, peace. You said, do you ask in some way or another if they plan to teach? I'm not sure what you mean. Who? Since you might have asked this a while ago. When I don't know what I was saying to spark that question. So just give me like the pronouns. Who they is. All right. So I third. Your pops went to Baruch. All right. Right. Yeah, he just didn't show up anyway. Pretty much, yeah, baby. Terror Squad's first album, all of those recordings, a lot of the 1998, 99 features, a lot of those were done lying down. He's reciting those bars lying down. I got that. The song that Juju produced on Terror Squad, the solo joint. Let me see, just so you get an idea. I was on the Twitter the other day, being the obligatory Puerto Rican standing up for pun in the pun versus Biggie thing, which I think is not a good comparison at all. They're both fat. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's pretty much where they both talk about a lot of violence, but that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Pretty much different from there. But yeah, what you're going to do. I remember Juju telling me that he did that lying down. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So yeah, 7:30. Yeah, people knew. Yeah. I mean, when we say chair, we're talking about like a sofa, long. Like he just couldn't move and stuff. Okay, I get you halftime. Yeah. As far as like students, when I would, all of you in my build awareness square plus lesson, the last thing is to gauge how you share, right? The reason I said that is because I want you to be a poor righteous teacher that isn't going out there thinking that I'm going to tell you what it is. Sometimes saying that I'm going to go out there and be a teacher is a little presumptuous, though. And sometimes I want to use a different word. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is that I want you to get in your idea about sharing. When you look at teaching like sharing, though, then sometimes the choice of when to do it and how to do it becomes a little easier to make. You know what I'm saying? Right? That's peace, Malik. I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, he was morbidly obese, 793rd. Yeah, it's a shame, though. It's funny. I never did get to interview him, and then the next assignment I had related to pun was his wake. So the only time I saw him in the physical, he was not here. I saw his dead body at the wake. And horrible sight, horrible sight. It's like he barely even fit into the coffin. Like his face was, bloated beyond belief. Like there are no pictures you've seen like in the Yeah Baby photo shoot or anything like that, or the inserts that look like what he looked like after. It's just terrible. And by the way, real quick, I don't like the comparison of, just throw this out there as a fun note. I don't like the comparison of a Pun versus Big, because Biggie didn't have the content that Pun had. We could argue about dexterity, but I tend to put them equal, because lyrically, as far as dexterity, Pun could say more and had better speeds, but the mastery of cadence and detail in the actual register, like it doesn't have all the speeds, but the detail in the register, Biggie was incredible. So I don't do this with, as far as that, but Pun had deeper content. And the main reason not to compare is because Pun is following a blueprint that I and was able to do better with it, or I could say salvage it, because it's a blueprint that I hate. The Ready to Die blueprint, like that album Blueprint, is like one of the blueprints that help commercialize hip hop, and I mean it in the most negative sense. You know what I mean? You cannot the one of the most last things you can do to sell something out is not have you don't sell something out by getting the totally horrible version of something. You know what I mean? You sell things out slowly to the public by having um, really talented artists do diluted versions of what they could do best. You know what I'm saying? And the Puff model of A side, A pop side, B hardcore B sides, right? A side being the on that record, that vinyl record, what goes to the radio station as the radio hit, and the B side, the more hardcore version that gets played late at night or on the mix shows. Um, he didn't make it up, but he had the best vehicle for it, so he evolutionized it to its completion. He's like, like how Terminator 2. In my book that I wrote this years ago. Diddy is Miles Dyson, in Terminator 2. He didn't make that stuff up, but the things that he did with it, though, is what furthers the that knowledge. Though, of course, though, he's not as innocent as Miles Dyson. You know what I mean? Um, but it is what it is. You know, people like to give Biggie credit and then give Puffy the discredit. But in the real world, though, know this: if you made it, it's yours. You know what I'm saying? If you made it, it's yours. Right? This isn't even like, let's say, when you write an article, like when you write an article for a publication, you have to sign something, and it's your contract, and basically they own it now. They can change it to what they want, though, and trust me, I've gotten into beef with artists because they've changed things that that made it sound like I was disrespecting, and if it wasn't for me knowing how to prove what I originally wrote to those people, I could be one of those writers they may want to hit, but I'm not that. No, I'm not that nigga. You're not hitting me, though. But the thing about it is that it's a little different with music. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to make that song. It's totally different. So if anything, the way Pun made capital punishment kind of salvages the whole blueprint, because it makes the blueprint hardcore again, which it had lost all of its hardcore vitality. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Ready to Die. I'm talking about the blueprint after 94. It becomes used for everything. You know what I mean? Everything. You know? And I was one of those kids that were fooled. I didn't listen to radio even back then. And I only listened to underground shows. So Machine Gun Funk and all these great songs Biggie had. And I'm one of the rare people that when I saw Juicy on Video Music Box, I was like, what is this crap? That was crap to me. You know what I mean? Because it was so much more commercial than what I was getting ready for. You know what I mean? And I did the research. You know what I mean? All of those commercial songs like Pop, One More Chance, and all those are made after Biggie, after Puffy realized he was making just hardcore songs. You know? So when I listen to Ready to Die, I hear two separate albums. You know what I mean? Pun is unfair because he has retrospect. You know what I'm saying? Of how many is it? 4 years, which is an eternity. Let's say 3 years because it comes out 98. So let's say 3 years. He has an eternity to see the flaws of that blueprint and everything. So it's not even fair. Maybe if we reverse the situations, we have the same outcomes, you know? But I will say this though, on Wax though, I always thought Pun was a funnier MC than Biggie. I heard they both had great sense of humor, but the stories I heard about Pun, which I have much more research on, I spent a lot of time with the family and Joe, and did interviews with Fat Joe multiple times. So Pun was just funny, you know what I mean? Just as funny as you think he would be, you know what I mean? I don't know if I answered your question half time though, so you let me know if I answered it correctly. You know, it's funny you mentioned that documentary 7 Night there. The documentary on Pun, when Liza, his wife, she didn't know it then. I had to tell her, but when she mentions the review that she felt like they finally were being accepted, like they finally got the recognition with the positive double XL review of capital punishment. That was me. I wrote that. You know what I mean? I was the one that wrote that. You know, so that was kind of cool. You know what I mean? I'm a little footnote in that documentary because no one knows. No, they don't mention who wrote that in the double XL, but it was me. It was me, and they gave it a XL, not a double XL. But I didn't get to choose that, so you know, because I knew he was using the formula. I was on some XL, but if they don't give in betweens, I would have went double XL because it was just too good. But you know, it's not my choice. You know? I wasn't the editor. Halftime, you said I had to learn to do 95% of the listening, which you now practice. When I come across people such as yourself, don't pass up the chance to ask certain things. That's definitely peace. You know, I want you to be comfortable in this laboratory. This is your laboratory, not mine. I am not experimenting on you. You were to experiment with your ideas here. You know what I mean? Peace, Clara. You said our people don't eat well. We relate eating to doing well. That is very true. That is very true. Like people would name the most horrible seafood, and that's like living it up. You know what I mean? Um, and definitely the culture of eating was certainly something that was part of the glitz and the glamour of the high life. You know, definitely. And Claire, you said never. They were different flows, storytelling. Yeah, definitely, definitely. You know what I mean? Definitely, totally different. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, if you ever listen to Pun, though, and the way Pun talks English actually is how Puerto Ricans talk Spanish. It's amazing how he's able to do that because he doesn't really talk Spanish like that. But the way he's able to roll and speak his regular talking English is melodic. It's very Puerto Rican Spanish, very Puerto Rican Spanish. There's a RZA calls it the Spanish tongue, but it's really a Puerto Rican thing, that melodic way of speaking Spanish. It's a very Puerto Rican thing. Oh, that's P.E.A.C.E 793rd. It's good memories there. Yeah, no, he had become so obese that it was morbid. He couldn't move and stuff like that. So the reports were like from about 6 to 700. So it's just crazy. And now it's like, yeah, I definitely mean, yeah, the R&B beats and things like that. You know what I mean? Budhead freestyles, the Buttonhead freestyles. What magazine was that? I'd like to know. Yeah, rap magazines, they almost never were able to um embrace in any type of way any of the creativity of the writers that they edited. And that's why the more creative, if they were creative, writers that you saw were the ones that were able to edit themselves or make sure that their stuff wasn't edited. Because and a lot of it is out of devilishment too. They didn't want people to shine, so they would homogenize everybody else's pieces. And I had a lot of different styles, so you couldn't really, what I mean? I was never gonna be good in a magazine without free reign. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could like all the songs. Like you could like all the songs Biggie did, like with Total, Can't You See? Those are great songs. Those are incredible. You know what I mean? Like I'll give you an example, and it's the same example, but with Puffy. You could like something, and it still could, bring the apocalypse. You know what I'm saying? Everybody loves Mary J. Blige's second album, right? We all do. We love it, but that's kind of what sets the stage for being able to use very lazy sampling and get away with it. You know what I'm saying? And a lowering of the ethos of sampling, because Mary J. Blige samples, like, unless you're new to the music, if you're already into hip hop and you heard My Life, those samples, don't be patting yourself on the back because you notice, Sunshine, Roy Ayers Sunshine. Oh, that's Barry White. You know what I mean? That's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Shit, that ain't nothing. You know. All right. Damn, the six. Yeah. Nah. Pun wasn't that short like that. No, no, no. Pun was. Yeah. Pun was not. That would 5'4", 5'5". That's my height. Pun was not that height. He was taller than that. Um. Pun is Joe is about like 6'2", 6'3" or something. Pun was like average height, 5'9", 10", something like that. You know, he wasn't like 5'4". No. Malik, of course, yeah. Did I have it rough getting announced because of being lighter skinned? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's not just because I'm lighter skinned; it's because of the culture I'm coming from. You know what I mean? And there's no way around it. You know, because I'm coming from Puerto Rican culture. And the thing is that if you come in, if you look blatantly Puerto Rican, um, if you don't seem to be able to pass for African American, and then you also have many of the things of Puerto Rican culture, not just like, but the culture, the music, the attitude, whatever it is, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Certainly not the food. A lot of the food is not part of my culture, but the music and the style of creativity, a lot of those things are, you know what I'm saying? Definitely part of my culture, you know what I'm saying? So, not the pendil, but the rice and gandula, you know what I mean? You know, not the religion, but definitely the music, you know what I mean? And all the things that go with it, you know what I'm saying? So, and I just think this, though, I don't always look on it like with bitterness at all. I was, a lot of the Puerto Ricans that got announced, they just, would keep in tow, but they wouldn't really get up there, you know what I mean? So everybody's okay. Everybody's okay with people that look different. And then in most ciphers, though, if they don't do shit, or they're not that good, but now when I start building, though, now you got a problem, though, because, the best knower might be, this light skin spick, you know what I mean? This is a problem for some people, you know what I mean? They say, let's represent the nation of gods and earths to the world and shit, you know what I mean? They would like to represent, though, with somebody that looks ideal, you know what I mean? Something that fits the description of the degree very easily, though. You know what I'm saying? And what if I was the best knower in that particular cipher situation? And now you got problems, though. It feels kind of bad and shit, And a lot of people, I'll tell you, I keep it real with you. One of the biggest things I tell all my black seeds that I teach, every black seed, brown seeds, you know what I'm saying? Those who have definitely, come from an African American perspective, don't be sleeping on your hard work. You know what I mean? Don't be sleeping on your hard work to prove that the black man is God because, you got that in the bag, though, because that's how you look, Now, that's not worry to get beat out or anything like that. It's you're not reaching your full potential. You know what I'm saying? You don't get to be one of the bunch. And a lot of people want to get knowledge of self so they can be one of the bunch. They're not there to say, listen, this knowledge of self is going to have me excel to a high supreme level. No, you just be good being one of the gods, though. Like in my lifetime, I was one of the gods. It's great. You know what I'm saying? But that's whack. That's whack, You just included some shit that you didn't earn. You're not just, the title, so, sorry to break it to you, but the title was already there. So it's not like you went and got it. It was already there. So, you got to do something else to really get that prize. You know what I mean? Right? Give me one moment, okay? Gotta see if I can get that materials. Okay. It depends what year Knowledge Allah that they wrote for the Source, Double XL, that they would get a lot of pay. Magazines stopped playing a lot after, like, by the 2010s, magazines were paying shit. You know what I mean? Used to be like not even an A-list artist, you know, someone that they considered B-level. You could do a feature for them, maybe like 1,000 to 1,500 words, and you get $1 per word. You know what I mean? You know, so I was getting $1 a word. So I do a review, 50-word review. That's a nice, quick 50. 50 words is almost nothing to write. You know, do a 500-word review, come out with $500. You know what I mean? If they're being cheap, you still get 250. You know, but now, like, you write for Hip Hop DX or something like that. That's just because you want to write, or you just want clips, not really write, because they don't let you write shit anyway. They don't let you do anything. You know what I mean? When they give, when people give you reviews and stuff, they expect you to like the shit in some way. You know what I mean? Or give a standard why it's no good reason. You can't come out of left field with like original thoughts, let alone a creative way of saying shit, like the way, what was it here? The bud-headed freestyles. You know, like, you can't say shit like that. You know, they ain't fuck with that. You know, but Malik, yeah, I had it tough. You know what I mean? But when you look back and you ask people, though, they're not going to say I had it tough, though. They're going to have to say that they tried to give it to me tough. See that? I put my head down and I worked, though. So people can only say that they tried to give it to me tough. I got that shit in reverse. Because when I went there, I was getting the knowledge. It wasn't going to stop me. Halftime was a local paper, college paper. A couple of backs, I never had the patience to submit to major publications. I had 4 bad editors and turned very bitter at a young historian. I feel you. You know what I mean? I feel you. I absolutely know what it feels like to quit writing. You know what I'm saying? You know, I was talking about J Live, Mr. God, Justice. When I wrote his piece for Show and Prove, the Show and Prove section, mind you, these guys were telling me, like, hey, look, we got these sections we're going to name, and they actual facts, Show and Prove. And I was like, oh, where'd you get that? So I had 85 telling me about how they was, jacking the knowledge to make names, you know what I mean? So I was there watching the 85s name the sections, actual facts, Show and Prove. That wasn't the gods didn't name that. Allah was there. I was there. You know, that was 85s telling me that. You know, I had the knowledge, though. There's no way I was going to go on a popular publication and start using our terminology to name shit, because I would only do that in my own works. You know, I'm not letting nobody hold that. But I'll tell you this, halftime. If you want to write, and you want to write with me to the 85 with the Cast Faction, or to the Nation, through the 5% Media, or if you don't know where you're writing, just write something dope, and I'll tell you, like, this fits more to the 85. This fits more to the Nation. You know what I mean? You let me know. You're going to have a different editor experience with me. That's for sure. If you want to go that route again, you're definitely going to have a different experience with me. You know? No, that's P.E.A.C.E. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, you know? In the end, though, I think that if we're all coming from different backgrounds, ethnicities, and that includes our phenotypes, we all had different experiences, and we ought to have different hells to go through to show and prove. It's just the way it is, and I didn't mind that at all. You know, what I mind, though, is that people that will ask you to show and prove, you show and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, and they still find reasons that are illegitimate to literally hate or downplay. That's when it's devilishment to me, and that's when I'm not really building anymore, and I'm really, I think it's better if we just, knuckle up after that. Mm-hmm. Oh damn, that's crazy. Yeah, if you're interested, have time. You exactly who I'm looking for. So anything you want to write about, I have a forum for anything that anybody wants to write about. You know what I mean? And so there are people that have submitted things, and I haven't gotten to them yet. But this month will be when I start doing this. So everybody that emailed me will be, getting the details. And since the 5% media is already up, that's definitely something to immediately get y'all, get y'all, up there if you got to build or anything like that. You know what I mean? And you know what? If you want to write about something, but you don't really know what to write about, um, I could fish that out. I assign you something. We'll talk about it, and then I could assign you something, and then we get it in like that. So nothing's really, what I'm saying? Nothing's really lost. You know what I mean? All right. Yeah, this is, I always say that the knowledge day is the one that everybody get. If you do it wrong, you'll be religious. This is the degree. Today's degree is the one that everybody's always quiet about building. You know what I'm saying? When you build on the day's mathematics and it is the God day, I don't really want to hear you talking about being supreme or you got to be supreme to do this or that. You got to show and prove that you're the true and living God and not beyond a shadow of a doubt. So you could compartmentalize. Like on this January 7th, there could be February 7th is another challenge. March 7th, whatever. January 7th, can you show and prove biologically, cosmologically, historically, through time and space that you are the true and living God? See, this is why a lot of people, I'm not saying this is happening because I opened with a different discourse today. But I'm telling you, a lot of people they don't like coming out their house though and build, on the God day, you know. Okay. Well, I say that writers definitely want to write, but they can't stop writing either. Um, yeah. So email me halftime. You know what I mean? Let me know what's up. I love that. So you know, have a forum though. You know what I mean? And if you had a thought about pitching yourself to a magazine, though, I can show you how to do that too. Okay. All right. Okay, Quartis, the God degree in is supreme mathematics, refreshed state of being, refreshed by the impact of my actualized awareness, unpacking the understanding of training in the build awareness square, my awareness. Well said, well said. Definitely a perfect student of the Peace Course answer of how I train and how that rejuvenates, maintains, and strengthens self, experimenting with utilization of an idea to determine its ability to bring out the intended name. Absolutely. It's not a bad build, Quatis. That's really good. After time you said if I don't edit in or own the magazine, I doubt I'd be down. I'm pretty sour on culture vultures. I'm the mad rapper writing. Halftime, I'm the editor of this, so I'm the editor in chief. So whatever you give me, though, that's me. You know what I'm saying? So, um, when it comes like everything else, my word is bond. You know what I mean? So when you give me a piece and I go through it and edit it, I show you the edits. I tell you what I'm doing with it, how it's gonna look, and the way it's gonna look, and how I tell you it's gonna look. We either agree on it and it prints, or we disagree on it and it doesn't print. If we agree on it and it prints, that's what's gonna print. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? That's why that's why I'm telling you, man. My word is bond. All that other shit don't mean nothing. Every last experience you had don't mean shit when it comes to dealing with me. Quatis, this experience revitalizes efforts or redirects them. Self is the major part in this revitalization. I like that part. This experience revitalizes efforts or redirects them. Notice how, Quatis, you didn't say abandon them. You see? So always thinking about the righteous act. What ought to be done is already decided. It is already won. It is already has been used and it has already been seen as understanding. And now it is what has been lived, what has been what stretched, what has been shown out there via power, and what has brought equality is what? That realization, right? That reaffirmation. You've affirmed yourself, you see? And so you can't go back. You either see how you do it or you redirect it, right? Plan is already full, right and exact. And that's peace halftime, you know what I mean? Yeah. Give it a try, you know what I'm saying? Give it a try, you know? All right. Jarrell, you said the absolute highest intelligence, force, and I'm not sure what the URE of the original man. I don't know what you were writing there, the URE. I don't want to assume. This can only be fostered through exercise and daily sincerity of living mathematics as a civilized and righteous existence. This understanding, when applied to culture, manifests itself in all capacity, tells it known as supreme. That power, right? Okay. Sincerity is the key word here. Seems to be like the functional word in there. You know, something to explore. You know, it's almost like the black man is God, but not everyone is being God. So that sincerity is that last that last necessary aspect. Or if we're really thinking about it, you know, the first. All right. Okay. Got you. That makes sense. Power. Um, well, as you said, today's math is God. Learn not to be afraid of challenges. Figure it out and get things done. Yeah, Jarrell, your spell check is evil though. They don't even give you a real word, right? They totally scribbled off there. It's all right though. It's all right though. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Peace serious. Today's math is God showing improvement through my actions and ways. First, starting with self and controlling reality according to how I write my own history. That's a big bag right there. Right? You have to have examples in your personal journals of how you're going to target this, right? Have Harris acknowledge and study the God that exists in others, especially those that don't have the knowledge yet. Make sure you see God today. Okay, that's interesting. It's not really what the degree is, like a build. Well, when you say study the God that exists in others, what does that mean? No, because that wouldn't be the first thing to do. You know, first thing to do would be study yourself. Because when we get knowledge of self, right? What are you studying yourself? We're teaching a white man, no, he's studying himself. He's not studying other gods. He's studying himself first. You know, he's got a certain amount of information, just like the black man will, and they're studying that information to see what it relates to them. You know, Quartis, I didn't get to answer. I'm still behind in emails because it's really a lot of emails I have. And like I told you, I'm really trying to. I'm diving into a lot of projects though, so my rate of answering emails has literally been like one email a day. You know what I mean? Just horrible. So like from Monday through today, I may have answered like one email every day. Crazy. So I will get to yours though, and I get you that. You know what I mean? So no problem. Um, Self I build. My internal compass is calibrated towards expressing my character's highest form on a continuous basis. Hmm. How do you calibrate that? Right? That would be some of the answers. Right. Self I build. The one guy that got an email today from me. You know that about the class. So I had to send lots of emails out, but only one student from the class. So, it's no problem, Jarrell. Okay, okay. I see where you're trying to go with that. You know, points of awareness aren't necessarily the knowledge of self. There are things that spark you, but it doesn't mean that it's the knowledge of self. You see other men being God, that might spark you, but in the end, though, it only has relevance though if you see that you're the true and living God. You know, and so in the end, though, the study is definitely you. And yeah, with you students, I really over the years I really try not to give just a shitty email. Because you students, especially you students, are digital, and you can't really get to a lot of school in Mecca. I'm trying to like answer you with like and complete answers. You know what I mean? Right. Okay. All right. All right. Let me get something, and I'll be right back. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's see what we got here. Mr. G1 is in the building. The digital video music box. Shout outs to everybody. Um, all right, what do we have here? Okay, so main thing I wanted to show is kind of give a perspective of jumping into the 2021 year. So honestly, if Oh, that sounds. Oh, okay, okay. Is it something you wrote, Mr. G1? It's something you wrote. I definitely want to read that. Ah, okay. So, Mr. G1, what you got going? You got something going? You not? Let me know. What do you got going? I didn't know you was running your own thing. Let me know what you got. Yeah, so part of the goal today was really to not just share some of my experiences with planning and the nature of the plan and how the fearlessness of the planning, the daring that goes into it, but also to help you construct a challenging workload plan, like ways of learning things that you want to learn, diving into things that you want to know. Um, how could we do that? You know what I mean? And if you don't know how to do it, then let me know. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have real questions, these are the things that you should be asking. You know what I'm saying? Um, you should be asking these things so that way I could help you out. Um, and to have that fortitude, if you want to do it here or if you want to do it, offline, and just send me an email or anything like that. You know what I mean? Or a text or something, right? But that was the real point. And no one's really asked me about it so far, but if you want to know a great display of using people as a tool and a slave, um, what this the insurrection, reminds me of though. It reminds me of like the Bay of Pigs invasion. They got all these guys to go out there, and he got them all together. He incited them. They're not bright at all, and they think it's going to be revolution. They don't know what that entails. They don't even know what that means. Um, they think they've been wronged by not having him as president when really just really being a puppet. You know what I'm saying? Really, as usual, the people, the white masses in general of America have always been puppets for racist fodder. You know what I mean? So, racism is a great issue. It's the unsaid, but probably the ends up being one of the most important issues that galvanizes them, and makes them feel solidified because they don't get to have wealth. They don't get to have any of these other things that the other white people are getting over or that they see, but they do get to have that status of racism. You know what I'm saying? That they think it is affording them. But you ever want to see people being used as a tool and a slave? I mean, you see it though. It wasn't. It's not really. It's not really. It's not really an insurrection either because um, I gotta say it's probably because they're not. They weren't. They're not smart enough to actually have a way to make demands. So all they did was go in there and break shit up, and they weren't really directed to have demands. You see how you could just be directed to just cause some violence, you know what I mean? Or some chaos, and that was it, you know what I mean? But just intriguing, and comical, you know what I'm saying? People they get upset about the country and stuff like that, but this country is founded by mob chaos, you know what I'm saying? Mostly everything that dealt with our people didn't go to trial, though. We got hung, and I'm talking about black and brown. I mean, there's massive amounts of brown that got hung as well. And, like this became the way, you know what I'm saying? And so the thing is, though, is that this kind of call to the lynch mob, I mean, it's part of the American framework, it's the way that the ignorant masses work, like that whole thing, you know what I mean? But I know you know it's almost like it's almost like he fools them as easily as Gaston fools him in Beauty and the Beast, you know what I mean? Like in 2 minutes, like he just said, look, it's a beast, we have to kill the beast. The only thing that didn't happen though was that the chairs didn't fight back and shit, you know what I mean? We've been could have been one of my favorite cartoons in real life. We just needed like the furniture to fight back. Damn Capitol furniture. If only the Capitol furniture was magically enhanced. It would have been would have been a sequel to an incredible cartoon movie. But so you got somebody to write a review about an album about Cuban links and he never heard it though. I mean, that's blasphemous though. That's like so you've been listening to hip hop all these years and you never heard that? Like, when I started to get into hip hop, you started to buy albums, and I always knew it was wrong. My collection, I knew it was wrong. I had some other albums, but I was like, it's wrong. It needs to have Paid in Full in here. And I was happy to say that when I got Paid in Full, I knew all the songs by memory, but I didn't know what was on the album. You know what I mean? But that's probably not the case though with you and Cuban links. That is already blasphemous there. The worst review of a classic I've ever heard. Oh my goodness. I am dying. I'm dying to read this. That sounds crazy. So you just set him up for the fall, right? Oh, shit. Yeah, now I definitely want to read it. I'm all in. I want to read it. It's like one of those first reaction videos where you get these millennials that they don't really know shit about anything, and they're like, "Hey, here's listen to Whitney Houston's and I Will Always Love You," and they're like, "What? How did she do that?" Like, oh my god, that's crazy. I am floored. Right? Quatizi said, "I naturally want and I'm learning so much. The challenging part is recovering what I can produce from what's learned." Sometimes, thank you for that, Quatis. You ask great questions by accident, you know what I mean? Because you don't think it's a question, and that's how student works. So you relay your problems, though, and that becomes a question. When I got knowledge of self, I stopped writing, and I stopped writing because I was like, everything that I've ever written is wrong, but I also don't know, like, how to funnel all this, you know what I mean? And I overthought it too much, Quatis. You know what I mean? All I had to do was learn. It was going to extend itself. Like I thought that a lot of the melodrama a lot of the epic nature or epic script, the way I wrote, was going to be lost because there's no mystery god. So now my work doesn't have that punch of mystery and exoticness. No, seriously, these are things that I thought, like, it was all bull what I was writing in my mind. This is what I'm thinking. Now, this is about 1999, and I'm quitting. I didn't. I'm just getting the knowledge itself. You know what I mean? And I quit that very quickly. I quit that concept very quickly, and I didn't. I started to write again, but for myself, and wrote and started to really write heavy in my journal then. And it was really because of Jizza, his Breaker Breaker song. You know, I'm gonna put the lyrics in there. Second verse. This is what inspired me and inspires me this day. Um, just said this on the second verse of on the second verse of Breaker Breaker. He said this, right? It's a quote from that. Oh, look, it's perfect. Okay, he said that, and you know, the significance was not the vulgar applause of interest, but the feeling, that exit, completion of a sentence. With age and experience, my reason ripens. In everything that we do as black and brown people, especially men. No, this is women too. I can't even, no, that's incorrect. Especially women. You're taught that everything that you're going to do has to be achieved by a certain young age because all of those are all your greatest assets, your athleticism, your beauty, the nature of your beauty, right? Because you know, black women, they stay beautiful forever, but the nature of the beauty that can be best utilized, you know, it'll be blood sucked by then, it'll be drained. Your athleticism, uh if you make music, you have to make it now. You know, you have to be that young person that makes music, which has not been the case for, oh, really is not the case. You know, there's so many classics by young people, right? Like Nas, Illmatic, things like that. But you know, so many classics are made by people when they are older that it's just a ridiculous statement. You know, like Essentials. I'll give you an example real quick, just for perspective, because these are things that when I was young, I didn't think this way. I was like, I only have a few years left. I have to write everything I'm gonna write ever because I'm not, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be over, you know? This is how I was thinking. And imagine people that are, you know, great athletes and whatnot. But there's greatness in all the ages. Um, Miles Davis did Kind of Blue when he was 33. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? People did great works when they were older. You know, along as well as when they were younger, right? Right? Coltrane's magnum opus, like his peak album, like among many classics, but the one that that you know we look immediately, A Love Supreme. He was already 38. You know what I mean? People were much older, and you know he has classics like all through his 40s, so it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Let's see. Yeah. So, I mean, Miles is in his 40s when he makes bitches, bro. I mean, it's just ridiculous, you know. But yeah, that sometimes what you have to do is, this is why I say to write a journal, because you have to explore the ideas, like ask these questions, and sometimes you got to ask them a lot. Like they don't get answered in one day, and sometimes they need to be asked many times of yourself. And instead of asking what you could produce with what you learned, what you really ought to be asking yourself is how does it enhance? First, how does it make you feel? Like how does it liberate you? You know what I mean? How does it let you learn other things? How does it enliven the things that you are doing? You know, after a while, you see in many areas that this knowledge is being used in many ways that isn't really very noticeable. You know what I'm saying? And then the things that you'll produce will, that'll come along. That'll definitely come along. You know, it's a great question though. But once I heard that, when Jesus said that, that was all it was though. You know, didn't matter about people's interest, because it's when he said the vulgar applause of interest, the vulgar applause means that it's gonna be people are going to applaud things whether it's great or not. Sometimes they just applaud the form that it's on. You know what I mean? Just like people will validate things just because it's on the radio, not because they think it's good. You know, how many people don't like certain songs, but they respect it to the highest level because it's actually on the radio. So, you know what I mean? I didn't say like it. I said respect it. You know, where something they'll hear great, they'll be embarrassed by it because it doesn't reach those levels, and that's where you get people listening to pop music. You know, they need the validation, but the feeling, that exit, completion of a sentence, and with age and experience, my reason ripens. Though it's the reasoning, Quatis. It's the reasoning why you're doing this stuff, right? That earth, wind, and fire. The reasons that we're here, right? The reasons, right? I love that song, man. That's why we say that. Reasons. Right? Every time I write something, especially about music or anything, I always, when you're looking for the understanding, just have that song in your head. The reasons, right? What are the reasons that you're here, right? Right? The reasons that you're here, the reasons that we fear feelings won't disappear. The love game has been played, and our illusions were just a parade, and all the reasons start to fade. Right? You gotta get the reasons, the real ones that stay, right? But yeah, I'm in though. I have to read it now. You know? They do have time. They do have time. Um, I would say this though. I am curious about what you wrote. Have time. You know what I mean? But I'll say this though. I'm gonna say this though. I'm gonna say this for real, right? Once you put what you wrote out into the atmosphere, there it is. You got to be comfortable with whatever people say about it. You know what I mean? In other words, you don't have to like what people say about it or how they regard it, but you got to be comfortable with the fact that if it is talked about, it is talked about. You know what I mean? Um, and the only way to make it a better conversation is to keep writing. It's the only way around it. You know what I mean? Only way around it. I don't, when you Quatis, I don't think that the riots, they achieved they achieved all that Trump would expect to do. I think in his mind, maybe he thought that maybe they would try to concede, but in his mind, because that's how America has often worked. But I think in a lot of his narcissistic mind, he just wants to be known as a guy that shook shit up. At least though he gave him hell. So right now I think he's just trying to write a legacy. You know what I mean? Like even when they screwed him, right? That's because he's saying he got screwed with the election. He still gave him hell. You know what I'm saying? Right? It's like that pun lyric though. He tells him, "Get out of here. Tell the family I give him hell." Right? He's just trying to write his hagiography right now. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's all people are motivated by. He doesn't care about anything else. Definitely doesn't care about those people. Right? It doesn't matter if it was 100 or just one, but like they said, all of them people were fools, and some of those fools died. A very small handful, because the fools that let him in would let him in. You know what I mean? But not everybody's always in on it, and in the end, they knew that as they were gonna, even though they're in on it, they knew that when they let them in, though, some of them might go a little too far, and then they might have to smoke them. Like, hey, this is off limits right now. You can't really get that far. Like, we ain't gonna let you, But that's a secure place. They don't let anybody in there. You know what I mean? They don't even let you on the steps. Unless you got shit to do in there. And for them to let people get in there, they let them get in there. It's not like they muscled their way in there. If they muscled their way in there, you'd see a lot more damage. You'd have to see damage and bloodshed to get in there, the way it's designed. So they let him in, and he wanted this, to flex a little muscle. You know what I mean? Right? What a wonderful postscript for the next thing that he tries to do. And he's just securing his infamy, and he'll always be recruited to talk shit about something. All right, how I live, what drives, and how I keep balancing dealing with all human families in my home. Okay. Yeah, master manipulation techniques. That's definitely, definitely cartoonish. El Salvador, yes, all the Latin American countries, because in the 80s, though, that's when they really, it was, it was securing their backyard again. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot of hell that they put down there in South America. You know what I mean? Guatemala, all these places. And they set the stage for the multinational company. You know what I mean? That's been going on since the early 20th century, the foundation, but they really set it off in the 80s. Yeah, well, halftime, one thing though, if you write music reviews, you got to know what people think about this music first. You know what I mean? Especially if you do older music. Like, if you review an album that just came out, you don't have to care what other people said about it. But if you review an older album, doesn't matter. Like, if you do James Brown's The Payback, which is a classic, by the way, and if you do that one, you got to give it a 5. Don't be making no mistakes. If you're gonna give it a grade, though, it's a trap. You know what I'm saying? It's a trap. You ain't supposed to give Cuban Links a grade, though. That, it's a 5. It doesn't, whatever rank, whatever measurement you gave it, though, it's a 5. You know what I mean? And the reason I say that, though, is because if you never heard something before, what you're missing is context. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a context of how next level that album was when it came out. Just like if we had like Eminem's album, Marshall Mathers LP, I could write a review about it myself and give it a 4, even though it's considered a classic, because I was there. You know what I'm saying? So I know how it was overrated by people. But yeah, you give it a 4, you just, you literally have a wrong review. There's nothing you can say about it. You know what I mean? There's too, nearly every part of the album is innovative. So I don't know what part could make it a very good record. And then in the context of 95, A 4 means it's a good record. Even in the stacked 1995, though, other classic albums of that era, though, are not. They might equalize, but they're not better than that. But now I want to read it even more. I don't know how you made that. You know. Well, halftime though. If you said something you share among yourself should never be presented as an album review, that's blasphemous to the art form. Um, See, I don't know. G1, you said it was an album review, so I'm thinking like you wrote this out. You know what I mean? Not just like a quick post or a text or something like that, or a direct message or something. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's why I'm answering you with such technicality about it. You know what I mean? But in the future, you know what I mean? Like let's say I mentioned kind of blue, or I mentioned bitches brew, or and I mentioned Love Supreme, right? The first two Miles Davis, the second Coltrane. Uh, if someone were to write a review of those albums today, like a perspective today, if they had to say it wasn't as good, I mean, they'd really be in trouble. Like they would really have to have real reasons. You know what I mean? You know, because what they would be doing is not really be able to justify the music, but have to give a different perspective and a different format to how we judge the album. Okay, let's say an Eminem album. That's easy because he was absorbed and canonized by the pop world, so it's easy to put that in a different perspective. Not so with Cuban Links because that's technically it's groundbreaking. You know what I'm saying? If it was your first time hearing it though, you may not have realized that you heard a lot of the stuff in there that was never done before. It's like hearing old Louis Armstrong recordings, like the hot fives and hot sevens is where you start, right? So maybe you get the best of the hot fives and hot sevens. Um, a lot of that is gonna sound mad dated, and you'd be like, "This is all right," you know what I mean? But then when you realize, like, if you have to do your background and say, "Listen, the power that he played that trumpet, nobody ever played that way." Then now it means something totally different. You know what I'm saying? This is different than, let's say, having the ability to nuance between like Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, and Ella Fitzgerald all at the same time. You know, this is about the context of an individual. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. You know, but you know what? It's if you don't want it to be shared, if you don't want it to be shared to me or anyone halftime, then that's fine. You know what I mean? In G1, respect that because it's not like a published review, right? It's just something he said to you. So if you're not comfortable with that, then it's fine. You know what I mean? I thought you were talking about something you published, so I thought it was already out there. That's different. You know what I'm saying? Quatis, we could continue that discussion offline though, but just by the way you wrote that, I mean, look how epic you wrote that. In that regard, I struggle with what I can create to live out in society and affect civilization in a great way. Um, just do what you love and do it well. You know what I'm saying? Try to do it as well as you can. You don't realize that when we say black man is God, he naturally has created everything. You naturally create everything around you. So just be you. Just be easy. Be you. You know what I mean? It'll happen. You know what I mean? You try so hard to do stuff, it could be a burden. You know what I mean? You make something that is natural into a burden, you know? That's peace. Whenever you guys are ready. But yeah, halftime, if you do write, though, I would like you to write for me, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Um, Quincy Bay Thriller at 50 years old. Perfect example. Perfect example, man. You know what I mean? And it's a youth record. You know, Jay De Niro. It's a great example. You know what I mean? That's probably the best example. You know that. Yeah, definitely the best example. Okay, I missed some stuff here. I skipped over. All right. Oh damn. You causing trouble amongst the righteous G1. Yeah, that whole breaker is amazing. You know what I mean? That's right. Dedicated to his pop truck driver. Right, right. I love that song. You know what I mean? I love the second Jizza album. Lyrically, he was amazing. Everything in there to me is a quotable. It's a lyric classic. It's a very strong beat album, but it's unfair because what RZA composed the score for Liquid Swords, and it's hard to beat that out. So it was going to be a downgrade. But if you're a Jizza fan, I think Beneath the Surface, you have to have that album. You have to. Even though you should have all of his albums. I don't know why. You know, all Jizza albums are belong in a good collector's collection. Yeah, Philip Bailey. Yeah, yeah, that's right. You know, the reasons. But peace, self elevation. Halftime. Do completely agree with truly spit. I'm just saying, however, that we need to keep in mind that I was has a chat for humor and context matters. Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Because I'm answering totally different without the context, right? Um. Okay, yeah. So, no, that's peace. That's all we on one accord. You know what I'm saying? You know. Um. Yeah, because like I said, I've been in rooms where people have made up the reasons why something will be considered great. Um, you know what I'm saying? But it's not really the case with Cuban links. I mean, it's just too monumental. By the way, I think Raekwon is one of the greatest writers of our time. He gets if you're looking at his content, you're not really getting what I mean is him as a writer, but it's the detail, the word usage, um, the ability to put soul into regular phrases and make up new phrases of interaction. You know what I'm saying? Like the politic ditto and things like that. You know what I mean? What a master. You know what a master. You know. Oh, halftime cuts of stuff. Okay. No, it's all peace though. I don't, yeah, no, it's peace though. Yeah. Right. Wow. Yeah. 7 8. That's right. That's right. Yeah. You know, but you know what? You don't always remember that. People don't always remember that. When you build with the young, though, sometimes, especially the young, they get this knowledge. Sometimes you got to remind them, though. They don't have to race to their destiny. You know what I mean? You know, they they don't have to. You know. I see you, Jay Dinner. I see you halftime. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Wow. Davina. Yeah. You take me back. That Davina album, I had gotten it free. I remember getting it free though. Yeah. That was a good album. That was like one of the that's a lost neo soul album. Davina's first album. It's good stuff. And the Raekwon feature was dope too. Yeah. Good stuff. Hey, y'all took me back with that. I remember having that CD free, man. When you work in as a writer and stuff, um, sometimes you end up liking stuff more because it's free. I'm not saying it wasn't as good, but for some reason I just loved having that album free. You know? Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say who's the greatest duo of all time though, but Rain Goes would probably be a favorite. You know, there's just so many great duos. You got to start with Run DMC and then everything after that. You know, so to say that they're the best is to say a lot. It's not like a runaway. It's just incredible stuff. Outcast, MOP, there's a lot of great duos. EPMD, you know, EPMD. Me personally, though, as far as personal favorites, I'll probably put EPMD right under. It'd probably be EPMD right next. I don't say Mob Deep because Havoc wasn't at the same level of MC sometimes. Compared to Prodigy. So I didn't equate them as that equal like that. But even still, they're still in a duo. Yeah. Oh damn, that's bad. Dissing his turntable skills now. Oh man, now we've seen it all. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So halftime. How old are you? Halftime. How old are you? You know what we used to do when we used to buy albums? We used to buy a new one, and we used to save money to get an old one. You know, that's how we used to do it. That way we could always catch up. You know. Yeah, yeah, the hole punch stuff. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those are all the albums that were set for supposed to go to newspapers, colleges, college radio. You know what I mean? And thing is that sometimes it helped too because they would sell them too. So um, they would count as sales. Yeah. Well, halftime. No, there's a lot of great hip hop now. I mean, that's all I. That's what I write about. You know what I mean? Talk about is all the great hip hop. I have easily over 300 albums from 2020. But if I had never heard Supreme Clientele, I wouldn't listen to anything until I heard that. You know what I mean? Because even the best stuff that you'll hear today is influenced by that. In fact, if you love Sean Price, you have to listen to Supreme Clientele. Oh, you mentioned Jay De Niro, Planet Asia, the God. You have to listen to Supreme Clientele. Because these are all MCs that reach their peaks inspired in some kind of way off the freedom that Ghostface wrote and performed Supreme Clientele in. So, you know, That's the thing about music, though. You have fun going forward and back. Go forward and backward at the same time. You know what I mean? Just like when you read history, you read books about history that is, 20, 30 years old, but you also go back to read ancient history. You also go back to read early American history, whatnot, 200 years, 300 years. Listen to music that way too. You know what I'm saying? Reach out to me halftime though. I definitely would like to you to write and not have negative experiences. And that's for anybody here, you know. Um, oh man. Now when it came to Gangstar, I always had to buy them crisp and crisp and new and my own, Right. Sean Price, yeah, Jesus Price, he's just nice, yeah. Sean Price, a great man, a great man. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't know that a lot of the greatest people I met that make music today is because of him. You know what I mean? Great man, right? Absolutely, yeah. I'm a big Gangstar fan. Um, so when Moment of Truth came out, though, I said, you know what? These guys won't let me interview Gangstar. I'm the biggest Gangstar fan, and none of these magazines would let me interview him. They weren't really giving Gangstar features by '98. Giving a small little feature, so or somebody else would take it that didn't know Gangstar like that. And so I just went and got my CD signed by him. I went to Fat Beats, you know what I mean? And just great to shake his hand and thank him, you know. That's my group, probably my greatest memory as just a fan, like just straight up fan, not a writer, not anybody doing anything in hip hop, no one being on anybody's record, nobody, a lot of MCs are great MCs out there, my students, none of that, just fan, you know. I met him when I started. It wasn't Moment, it was Full Clip. And I just wanted to thank him for inspiring me to seek the knowledge. Not saying he got everything right on record, not saying he was building every other bar, but he always had great things to say and he was a legend, you know what I mean? And I'll never forget that, you know what I mean? And you could tell it, that level of respect. Like he looked at everybody when he talked to him, you know what I'm saying? Special. The Guru was special, you know? Yeah. And if you're a Gangsta fan, you had to get Full Clip because it had the greatest hits, but it had a lot of other B-sides that you've been trying to get, with good sound quality for years. So, like, and and then songs that you'd have to get, soundtracks you didn't really want, like Gotta Get, Gonna Get Over. You had to get that Trespass soundtrack. I remember stealing that from Sam Goody just so I could get that Gangstar song, but then I needed it all digitally. You know what I mean? But because I was a cassette thief. But that Full Clip has some new songs too, and of course the a lot of classic B sides, unreleased joints. You know what I mean? Or just underground releases off album. So now in this year, how is whether you answer me online here in the classroom or you answer me in the email, how is everybody doing with that first weekend in planning some of the goals, some of the things that they expect to do, and how are they doing this year? Because some brothers have asked me about their training, trimming down, getting in shape the way they want to, and having some difficulties and stuff. And that's one of the things that's hard about certain things. You could be trying to work on some things, not just working out and everything else, but even other things. and you don't see results, and you're trying too hard. So it's not a thing to quit. It's a thing to just figure out um, a better strategy. But how do you get to the strategy? What would you do? And that's what I'm here for, to help with that. Because with a lot of things, I'm always caught up to try to figure out better strategies myself. You know, Bandifest remix, Sam Goody's Blockbuster, yeah, CD Warehouse. hmm Yeah, that's one of my. I don't know if I could rank all my favorite Guru verses, but Above the Clouds is definitely a top one. Right? I self Lord and Master shall bring disaster to evil factions. Demonic chapters shall be captured by kings. That whole verse is killer. They always talk about Inspector Deck's verse, which is great, but I always gave it to Guru. I was blown away by that. You know what I'm saying? I was blown away. You know, people always going, "Oh, Deck had the verse," and I didn't see it as like Deck running away with anything. You know, but the thing is, like with these forms, right? What forms can you do? I want you to spend some of this year with trying to figure out and practicing some kind of form that you might not even be comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? Um, so if that involves writing for a publication with me, if that involves, trying to train, all of these things, but you have to try to challenge yourself to do something out the box, something that you know is going to be good for you, even if you're not good at it. You know what I'm saying? Listen, you could see all the videos that you want of me doing kung fu and all that kind of stuff. But I could go somewhere where I'm not even close to. I've been around martial artists and even taught certain martial artists the knowledge, not martial arts. And their martial arts though is on a level that is superior to anything that I could ever even try. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that, and yet because we're all martial arts artists, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't be comfortable with defending myself, because that's what the martial artist does. But it's clear that I would have to have different strategies if we were really, really fighting. And what I'm saying is, like, you don't do stuff just because you're going to be great at it. You do stuff because it can be something that is supremely rewarding to you and can open up avenues of insight to you. You know what I mean? So even if we were in the context of, let's say, the greatest, if I ended up not being in a cipher here and I was in a cipher of, let's say, with the greatest martial artist, and I was in the backyard all the time in the neighborhood I lived in, I still would be doing this because this would be the lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. Certain things I do, I think I'm the best at it in the whole world. But that doesn't, but now it's really whether I think I'm the best at something or I know that I definitely am not the best. The humility is that it's not really about that. It's really about, when I do all this though, does it fulfill things? You know what I mean? And even, does it fulfill my satisfactions? And do I am I really learning something with this? Like, is it bringing insight to me? Is it changing me in the way that I want to be changed for the greater? Right? Is it taking me through that hell to come out righter? And and those things it is. Yeah, I see you self I build. You know what I mean? Definitely J Root. J Root's dope. But yeah, Guru's all the way for me though. He had that verse to me. Those first couple of bars. I mean, that's the knowledge. That's love, Lord and Master, big disaster, evil factions, demonic chapters shall be captured by kings through the storms of hereafter. Come on, it's crazy. Yeah, righteous give a sacrifice to give what they deserve. That's crazy stuff, man. You know. All All right, so far so good. One of the goals is reading 10 pages a day and writing about what I read and what is useful and why. The writing part has been the heavy lifting. Doesn't come so easy. So practice some free writing, you know what I'm saying? And start with topics in your writing. Start with topics like maybe you'll get to what you read, but start with topics that are easy. Like for me, what always generates me to write quickly is I always talk about the training that I'm doing. So it also becomes a kung fu training log. So I talk about my training, whatever I'm doing, weights, strength training, hit training, all of that. So when I do that, it gets me in a flow. You know what I mean? Because it happened right that morning. So now, once I get that out, I'll be ready to dive into the pieces of the book that I want. And talk about and stuff. You know what I mean? And in the books you read, you should be tagging or highlighting if it's digital, the parts that you want to talk about, and leave if it's digital, leave the notes in there so you could remind yourself of the things that you wanted to talk about, the things that sparked you in that passage, if need be. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right. And Jay De Niro, yes, now it's definitely all about constant elevation. Right. Absolutely. Okay, my mouse is there. We go. Yeah, it's like we have to, right? I mean, I got to. You know what I mean? Absolutely, Jay Dana. That's the truth about muscle memory and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Definitely. Yeah. Gangster songs. I don't need much to remember the whole thing. I could karaoke most of them. You know? um, Jay De Niro, when you triple stage of darkness, are you talking for you? What do you mean by that? Let's build because you shouldn't be in no triple stage of darkness. You're in my classroom. You know what I mean? Like I actually have somebody in the classroom that's in a fog and shit. Right? What does that mean? To you, what does that mean? Okay. The more you tell me about you, the more I can help you. Okay. So remember, Jay De Niro, this is the classroom. It's digital, but theoretically and soon we'll be at a law school in Mecca. And it's really about you all getting a peek into how I'm teaching at a law school in Mecca. And so you want to do your best. If you want to get the best out of this class, You want to treat it like you're in the classroom with me. You know what I mean? Um, so the next step, you're not so deaf and blind though if you know that you are, right? So it's already a big step that you're not, right? You want to email me so that way you could tell, ask for some things, what you need, and all those things, right? And let me know, okay? That way I know who you are, Jay De Niro, your history, and anything that you want to ask me personally, you can ask me. You know what I mean? Absolutely divine truth. Absolutely. Everything requires consistency. You know what I mean? And sometimes in the beginning, though, in the beginning of a year when you're trying to make your goals and everything like that, it's also how are you going to judge these goals? How would you judge if these things should be done? So, you want to challenge yourself, but you also like, for example, Quatis, you said you're going to read 10 pages a day. What's missing from the goal here is how many pages are you going to write? Okay. That's what might be making it more difficult. There's no the 10 pages that trust me, that'll be easy to do. You know what I mean? And you'll actually be able to increase that. Now, the pages that you write though, like maybe say like try to write 2 pages a day. Maybe just put like that, 2 pages a day in your journal, right? And that's a really good amount. You know what I mean? You when it comes to writing, you never know how the days take you. So I never have like writing goals for every single day. What I do have though is writing goals for the week. So certain things have to get done the whole week. Um, in certain projects though, I just you know I decide their due dates and then they get done. So I make deadlines in my head. You know, and you should do that with the things that you do. Okay? That's peace. That's peace. Self I build. Definitely, definitely. Get that going. totally refreshed itself. Okay. You know, there's something I always tell all you students, right? Um, they spend a lot of time. A lot of students spend a lot of time um, thinking about the conspiracy of the white man this and his dominance and all these kind of things. Um, do yourself a favor though, and don't respect your enemy, but don't iconicize your enemy, because most of them don't really know what they're doing either. You know what I'm saying? Um, we could look at the events that happened yesterday as something that one particular individual was allowed to do, right? But at the same time, though, none of that happens though with just him wanting that done, either. You know what I mean? It's not. He's not Tupac. It's not me against the world. It's not really working like that. You know what I mean? Um, a lot of I keep saying that presidents are selected mainly for how they guide the people. It isn't always policy. They have all the other people to do policy and they impact. You know, you need to win all the Senate. You need to win all the House of Reps. You need to have you know, the parties dominant in each one to really get things passed and all that, right? Things that say Obama didn't have, and that Trump did have, right? His party's dominance in the House and in the Senate. The key factor is that more is that people are allowing chaos on certain allowable levels. You see, and you'll know because you'll see by the nature of how they get prosecuted and what happens. So you have to look at when we look at the devil, we look at somebody that's trying to figure out every day how they could remain supreme. How just by people becoming more, not just knowledge itself, what's happening more so is just people, black, brown, yellow, white, becoming more humane about things. And then you see the devil's civilization crumble slowly. You know what I mean? Where people just are, when we talk about people think like when civilizations crumbles because of severe devilishment. What if we looked at that from a different angle there, right? What if we looked at it that no civilization can survive by massive devilishment, that it will soon crumble? So it means that righteousness eventually forces the crumbling of any corrupt civilization. You see it's how you look at things, that eventually the people will be so starved of life that death will be okay. And so they will not respect anything that will happen. This is in the Tao, right? And that's looked down as like negative, but it's really that people are respecting a righteousness that is not found in this life. You see? And that's something that you could say actually crumbles the devilishment of societies, because the grafted, the physically grafted, may not be mentally grafted just yet. And they decide to say, listen, I will love these other people. And you see black and white having children. You see mixed races and all these things. You see people trying to do their best to accommodate different cultures and viewpoints that were actually designed to oppose each other. That's why there's so much clash. Each of all these cultures and ethnicities have things that are blatantly wrong within them all. And so they have to clash. See? So when we look at like this whole world of devilishment, we look at this whole world, is it, you know, you met Bill, you mentioned in the expiration date, it has been expired once the knowledge itself. You know what I mean? You're looking at something that, like, we're always looking at, like, oh, look, you know, it's why I don't assign certain books, like Behold the Pale Horse, because everybody reads 2 pages and, like, oh, Run for the Hills, the white man, you know, he'll kill me in 2 seconds. They have a knowledge of themselves, and they don't even know what to do with that. They don't even know what to do with that, because what they're learning is, though, is that they need a lot more science, a lot more capital resources to plunder, to continue, and to consistently generate, so that way that they could continue to keep going. This is a big problem, and they don't know how to do it. And you know what, though? A lot of people throughout history, millions, thousands and thousands and thousands of rulers have just crumbled under the pressure. You know what I mean? They just crumble under the pressure. And then you, the student, you're learning with facts, biochemistry, quantum physics. I'm giving you everything. Cosmology, the burgeoning sciences of neurology and neurosciences that show the supremacy of the mind. And you're still thinking that they've got this super plan, though, and they get together, though, and they conjure up the ancient ancestors' energies, though, and use them against you. And if only you had the right crystal, if only you had the right beads, you could deflect this. What the hell was the point of this knowledge of self? You know what I mean? The ones that have knowledge, though, they're out there trying to turn you into scientists of their own will, so that way you could figure this shit out for them. You know what I mean? Can we figure out, though, how we could keep it going, though, even though we don't have the melanin to actually power all this, to actually make all this work, to actually do all this physical labor that's required, to have all this capital that we have plundered? You know, it's to say that we were stuck to do this ourselves, how we could do it ourselves. The more that you study the land, you realize that a lot of their mistakes with land and the monocropping and all these things, a lot of it is because they just think of the dumbest ideas, and they don't really know. They don't really understand the land. They actually had to make up a term called organic, because they started to figure out, a small portion of them started to figure out, though, that, wait a minute, we're pulling all this out of the earth, though, but we're also destroying it. And it might not regenerate. And if it does regenerate, it's not going to regenerate in time. Not going to regenerate in the time that we need it. They're not as smart as you think they are, but you are as dumb as you don't think you are, or as you think you are also. Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to study, right? Yeah. And the thing is that I would say that we're not strong enough for the enemy, because we're ill prepared. We have not prepared at all. You know what I mean? We're not prepared at all. You know what I mean? And some people are out there just laughing at the white man, you know, all that, not trying to get the lessons and stuff. Or they're like saying, a lot of people are getting emotional because it's like, oh, how could they do that? We don't do that. How come they get this? How come they get that? Like, you're more mad about the privilege thing. They're supposed to get privilege. But see, what I saw yesterday wasn't just white privilege, right? Absolutely, dark Kim. They want to be white. And you know what's funny is that all I saw was the dumbest whites of America being used as tools to go in there. Let me tell you though. Let me tell you something. What happens if they just off the cuff decide to just do that again without the egging on of Trump? And like during, he tells them, nah, don't do that again. And they like, it ain't about what he's going to say. We're going to do it again because, you know, we want you in there and you're the only one that's going to do what we want. So we don't even care if you're telling us not to do it. You know what I'm saying? Then what happens? You know what I mean? So then you see a totally different outcome, you know? But tools and slaves, you know what I mean? We're tools and slaves as well. Our people are tools and slaves to the utmost, you know what I mean? The thing is, though, is that we don't understand that we're being used for greater things. The way we're bloodsucked is for much more grander things. Our arts and culture, our thoughts, our minds, our creators, our creations, our innovations. Do you realize, right? And this is what you have to learn. I give you something else, right? We're at the end of this class, right? And here's the heavy stuff. There's a science that they copied from Egypt to write as he was plundering. Trying to remember his name. Let me get his name. I don't want to say it wrong. I can't because I got two names in my yeah, Napoleon Hill, right? Napoleon Hill, right? He was studying rich people, really mainly rich white people, and then made Think and Grow Rich. But one of the sciences was also, because he was a hustler, if you study Napoleon Hill, and that just was his best hustle. When he studied, he also studied Egyptology. One of the things he was hearing that was similar to what he was learning in Egyptology, or what he was in that hustle, was the idea of transmutation. It's the biggest jewel in Think and Grow Rich. Is that they use it in the book, it's used, if you're thinking about something, if you need to do this about money and you have your heart set out on getting with this girl and that's not going to happen, use that energy and translate it. I'll use the word translate so it makes sense, or shift it and funnel it in a different direction. That means transmute. That is technically really an old Kemetic concept. You know what I mean? And that's where they extracted it, right? So the thing about that, right, in that whole transmutation, right, taking something and using it to something else, right, we're not really looking at how we're being utilized. We're not really looking at how everything that we do is actually transmuted into something else. So like what the most easiest way to show that example is in the way that the Art of War books are used. They have the business art of war, the corporate art of war. You know how they make an art of war of everything, right? That style of writing, sharing understanding in that format, their insights to things, is a form of transmutation. That book is about real bloodshed warfare, right? The chapters are about areas, land masses, the use of spies, all those things. But they have transmuted the insights into the field that they want to be in. You see? That kind of work is nearly always what is being done to us when we create things. So we think, oh, look, we're just niggas. We just make arts, culture, and these things and that. Not so. Most of the things that we create leave a blueprint of how creation works. Because they don't have a blueprint, that continues to change and innovate how creation is created. But when they see things and they go into think tanks, what do? They look at other artwork. They look at other things, right? Just like I tell you to have a palette, this is where it comes from. You have a palette though. You don't draw, but if you're writing, I tell you to look, watch some cartoons or read a comic book. Not just read books because you're going to write, but at the same time, go do the knowledge to other things, a movie or something else, music, because then there is a nature to creating styles and formats and concepts flipped. Those things can be transmuted. So you may not be a creator and you may not be able to actually come up with these blueprints, but best believe that the people that bloodsuck, they come up with these blueprints by studying what the blueprints are being made when we create, and they transmute it. Add to that they actually are still, they have always funneled and directed the best talents that we have, the most talented that we have, to do other things for them, right? And so that's without being said, you know what I mean? In fact, they've pretty much, when the high sciences, they pretty much lost that ability, and that's why they export so many scientists, because they don't even know how to grow them here with that risk of them here knowing that, you see? So that's also a problem. You know what I mean? That's also a problem. So what happens is that, how do they bloodsuck the people here? Well, they bloodsuck by studying the nature by which they create. You know what I mean? You don't think that a lot of the reasons why, let's say, great creators, like, let's say for like RZA or something, they don't study just like how he created, but the mentality by which he actually decided to construct platforms is a blueprint, you see? And how he was able to keep all of those members creating distinctly, but also unified, and yet still at a common cause. That's what he did, was the art of war into the corporate world. Because in 1993, no matter what anybody says, every single great record you heard had to go through a corporate structure, because we had it on wax. So we wouldn't have it on wax if it wasn't, you know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, you have to look at the details of all of this. You know what I mean? And the first thing you do is, like, don't assume that the enemy is so great. You know what I mean? You think that to make that this is what they actually wanted to do, to continue to bloodsuck, was to have a virus though that makes a lot of, you know, like, people just go, oh, it made Jeff Bezos a lot of money, right? It surely did, right? But the goal wasn't just the goal is to be consistently bloodsucking. And now there's a lot of avenues that can't be bloodsucked as easily. The reason they look fearless in their bloodsucking is because they know that they are not the ones to create these blueprints. The blueprints to continue creating are not coming from them. They're coming from them by watching us. So when there are new hells that befall all of humanity, right? We could count the virus as one of them, before all of humanity, not just like us, black and brown, original people. They study how we are reacting to these things, how we continue. You know what I mean? Even little things like, look at hip hop. I don't mean pop hip hop, but hip hop and the underground hip hop, how it ended up being one of the most productive and qualitative years in, you know, the music's history, right? All of these things are things to take note. Your enemy is not some evil wizard of Oz back there, you know, calling shots with, you know, all that kind of stuff. He's literally figuring the shit out day to day. You know, on many levels, he's figuring it out day to day. So you do the knowledge and you apply the degrees. First thing you should have seen when you saw all these white people moving and stuff was these are blind, deaf, and dumb. They have no idea what they're really doing. You know what I'm saying? You don't think that they were directed particularly and very distinctly? It's their lack of intelligence that makes them seem that way, because they did stupid things like they took over the building by climbing the wall, things like that, when they were pretty much let in, right? But they were directed to do what? Be wild. And so they went and be wild, right? But these are people that if you told them, bring all the guns you got, they got guns. They ain't bring none of those. So you have to look. Easily led in the wrong direction, hard to lead in the right direction. You know what I mean? Used as a tool and a slave. You know? It's the way that it works. You know what I mean? And if you're not looking at it through 120, the degrees that you have and the degrees that you don't, then you're missing a lot out of it. You know what I mean? Look, 793, you said, I'm sure someone's studying us here now. We're not hiding, but they can't be us. It's not even about them not being us, though, right? Whatever people take, let's say for me, that could be used for a wrongdoing. All of the blueprint that I'm using to create and that I'm creating to make things and share and do all this, I'm mastering that blueprint. So even if whatever we put out in the world, somebody could do with what we took and make something horrendous with. But the truth is, the way I put it out, I know that what I did with it is going to end up as something well done and something righteously inclined. You know, can't really stop what people do with it. You know, that's also can be a level of paranoia. And I'm not saying you have that. I'm just saying, you know, I'm just bringing that up. You know, that's a fact. That's a fact. And you know, that's crazy. You said that, Dark Kid, because the Democrats, they how many? What was it like? Man, they be getting blatantly. They got documentaries of how they've been cheating them in the elections for like the last 5 of them. You know what I mean? You know, like they got like, it's like common knowledge that they got cheated. You know, like you can't even prove that Trump got cheated. It's common knowledge. Like they got documentaries of how like the Republicans, you know, Bush and them and everything were cheating. So you know. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. You know? But these parties, they fall in line though. You know what I'm saying? They fall in line. You know? A lot of politicians, I do, because I work with politicians, you know what I mean? Especially when I was young and throughout the years. I've seen their work, you know, just like the father did, right? He saw them. A lot of them have good intentions, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of times, the more that you get into a work for the people with massive amounts of emotion, the more easy it is for you to be manipulated and for you to have your strong heart to become a weak will, because it's all emotion, you know what I mean? And what happens is that love for the people or the desire to have the people have things can easily be turned to a job that becomes, I feel for the people if. I feel for the people if. You know what I mean? And then add that over the years where you start getting paid and you get a secure job. And then now a little bit more devilish might creep up into that love that has been turned into fear. And now you got a whole mess of a person, you know? So don't think like, again, this isn't a Steven Seagal movie, you know? Maybe Trump is like a Steven Seagal villain, but not most people are not like Trump or like a Steven Seagal villain, the politicians in Steven Seagal villain movies, you know what I mean? They're not like, and I would have gotten away if it wasn't for you, you know, kids, you know, meddling kids and shit. Like, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? The party that's more led by emotion for the people, though, are usually the ones that become corrupted first, you know, because then they end up being the party that does things out of fear of what the people would not have, as opposed to what the people ought to have. And so they end up what? Trying to just keep things, you know? And that's the best, most honorable Democrat is probably described that way. You know what I mean? The best way to describe a Republican, though, is someone that's willing and outright willing to keep the gains and keep that dam of money flow secure, you know? So it's different mentalities, you know? Don't, you know, bleeding hearts, though, by the time they become politicians, have bled all their blood, right? And that's why when you study them, I want you to look at different things, you know? When you study Obama, you know, read his books. His books have lots of insights, his ideas. The Michelle Obama book, lots of insights. You know that if you were the ruler of the people, that's in our degrees, be a king, be a ruler, you know that there is no way to set a policy that could help 90% of the people all at one shot. It's almost impossible. You know what I'm saying? Someone gets screwed somehow. You know what I mean? It'll never be 100%. You know? So when you look at these things, you got to look at them in such a way where, like, you're trying to see, you know, what it is. But all the theorizing and stuff, it always should start from the level of, like, yo, people just using tools and slaves. You know what I mean? That's all we saw, tools and slaves. You know what I mean? And who gets to have power and who gets to be on the mountaintop. You know what I mean? It's really that simple. Exactly. Email me if you want to be a writer, if you really want to learn how to do this, publish and things like that. Let me know. Email me if you want to write. If you want to write, you don't know where you want to write. If you want to write for the 85, like the people, all the people. If you want to write just for the nation, I have those forms. If you just want anything about the knowledge, if it's your first time listening to video and you just feel more video and the classroom and you just want to, you know, you feel more comfortable building personally, email me, okay? I am going to get to all these emails, okay? That is part of the work I'm doing, okay? But when I do, though, it'll be substantial and it'll be things that you could do, okay? So with that said, do the analysis to the best of your ability. Dive into it, though, because the more goals you complete quickly, right? The more you get into that flow. You know what I mean? Everything is about flow in the groove, right? So with that said, I'm gonna let you all go for the week and say peace. Peace to the gods and earths and all the civilized people, all the savages that tuned in too. All right. Peace.